Hello and welcome to No Load Time, episode 35. My name is Obed Velez, and with me is the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
Hey guys, welcome to No Load Time. It's good to be back with you, Obed, here on the show. And man, the rumor mill just keeps on going.
I know we were just talking about this. It's like half of the stuff that we're going to talk about today is going to be mostly rumors. So, spoiler slash rumor alert, take it with a grain
Yeah,
of salt. But we are going to talk about some things that were reported that are accurate. But we do like to get into these rumor mill kind of thing because it's pretty exciting, Joel.
and it's funny thing too is like you said this I think on the last episode when we were talking about something we had spoken a few episodes ago, and then we saw it come to pass. It's like we're kind of prophetic on the show, dude. Like we talk about this stuff that's like rumors, maybe kind of, and then say, hey, we think this might happen, and then you never know. So it's always fun to dive deep into it.
Yeah, that last hit was actually pretty good because I said it without actually seeing news or anything or articles or speculation. So it was just what I thought was going to happen, and it sort of kind of happened. So
Exactly.
you guys better tune in and check this out because I think we're doing pretty okay, right, Joe?
Yeah, man. I think we're doing solid. I mean, if you're jumped into this new year, we hit 2018 off with a bang, and I'm so excited for the future of the show. But I mean, it's we have some fun times on the show. It's a must watch each episode.
Definitely. Joe, let's jump right in. I know that we didn't have much of a week. We've been pretty busy with life and work and the such. So let's jump right into what happened sort of last week, and then move into some of the reporting. Joel, what do you think of that Venom trailer or teaser trailer that showed up last week?
It's exactly what you just said, a teaser trailer. And that's what you expect from the first look of the film. Look, coming into this movie, we knew nothing. We knew is that the actor that's starring Tom Hardy. We understood the director. Very much questions. I've been someone who's been known on the record on this show for questioning the vision behind this movie, like what directions they're trying to go, what the main storyline synopsis is. You know, it has to be an origin, but which way are they pulling? Of course, we wouldn't know nothing until we actually saw some footage, and that's what we got with this trailer. Just so happened to be right after we had already recorded the episode from last week. So yeah, honestly, I think it's a good trailer. I don't think it's a great trailer, but it does actually. It made me more inclined to want to see this movie than I was actually prior. Like the
Hmm.
way I felt prior, I knew deep down inside, like I'm gonna go seeing this movie, but I wasn't. It wasn't like had me where I felt like I had to run that opening weekend to watch it. That's how I felt with this trailer. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna make some time to make sure that I see this movie. Now, here's the thing with me saying that, it's like I got enough of a taste of the movie to say that I'm on board with the direction they're going, but it gave me more questions. Like it left me asking a lot more. And that's the intentions behind a teaser trailer, is to tease the movie, not give it all away. But I do think there was some things that were missing that I would have liked. I actually wanted to see something with the symbiote. It's a little bit actually concerning to me that we don't have anything to have seen with it. I didn't want an action sequence or anything of that nature, but I wanted to see a little bit of emotion of some at some level, more than just it coming through his body, whatever. So there, that was a little bit of a concern for me, because the movie could look fine like this, and then, and I'm sure we'll end up seeing something. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but I'm hopeful that we'll end up seeing something more of the symbiote before this movie actually comes out. But the last thing we want is that it's like not something that looks good for whatever reason. And obviously Sony's good with their CG, and I'm not trying to question that. But if a decision was made from any standpoint, that's just it's important. The look of Venom is important, just as much as the story, because you're trying to communicate something through the way this character's physical attributes are. Tom Hardy's a great actor. I'm not going to question him. I'm not going to question the designers. But whatever decision or cycle they decide to go with, I'll be very fascinated to see. But regardless of that, the space stuff, I mean, like exactly what I'm hopeful for. So if Spider-Man makes a cameo, I don't need to know that in the trailer. And I think he will, but I don't need to know that. So it gave me enough to make me happy. But Obed, I'm curious to see what you felt about this because I know you're pretty hyped on Venom. Probably more than me. I'm more of a Spidey guy, but what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the trailer did a great job at setting a tone. So this it's going to be sort of a gritty type of take with the character, which fits Venom very well, I think. We did see a little bit of a symbiote in what looked like a containment tube, and it's black goo, which is what the symbiote is basically it. It's supposed to look like. It does have sort of a gray tone to it, and that's probably because just having a 100% black color on screen just doesn't look good, right? It's the same reason why Optimus Prime has more hues of blue than red, compared to the original material. Is that the red color on film bleeds. So it's basically the same thing with the color black, where you're not going to have a completely solid black character, which on screen is not going to look great. And that was the same reasoning behind the design, the Venom design from Spider-Man 3. So you had silver lines across the costume itself, just because you needed to see something on screen. You needed textures. That's why these costumes look very different on screen sometimes. That being said, I know it's gonna look fine. I did see some renders out there of what the character may look like, and it looks fantastic. It looks like Venom, so that's great. It doesn't look like the half-assed attempt that they did on Spidey 3. So yeah, like you said, Tom Hardy is a great actor. I know he's gonna be fine. Tone looks great. I wanted to see a little bit more, but I think they did a great job as keeping people guessing on what his true form is going to be. Of course, people don't know that it's already. A lot of people, like casual viewers, will not know that the villain of the movie that was announced a few months back is Carnage. So we're probably not going to see any Carnage at all on any marketing unless it gets leaked on a toy or something, like what's happening with Avengers. I don't know. Speaking of Avengers, and we'll talk about it after I finish my thoughts. But um, it looks like it's going to be action packed, and it looks like it's going to have some intrigue and mystery based on this trailer alone. I'm positive. Again, just like with Solo, I'm cautiously optimistic because I want this movie to do good. And like you said, we don't need to know that Spider-Man's going to be in the movie. We don't need to know that there's going to be a cameo or there's going to be other characters attached to it. So it was just a teaser. I'm assuming that during the summer, most likely with Ant-Man, we'll get an actual full trailer. Ant-Man's late in the summer. Well, not necessarily late in the summer, but July. But I would assume that about around that time, we'll get a full trailer, and we'll get probably a tease of what he looks like on screen. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I want this movie to do good, man. Again, I want all Marvel movies to do good, man. Not to bash on the DC
We'll
fanboys. I
get
also I
there.
also want, yeah, exactly. We're cashing the checks right here. Um, so I really want this all these things to do great. I want DC to get their crap together and actually make an understandable and functional universe. And um, I think that if this Venom movie does not go too far away from the MCU, then it's probably just going to be incorporated. So
So here's my question for you. Like, would you have rather, like, we know it, forgetting what we know now, what's happening, that as obviously we're having this movie come out, and and what the plans are for how it's gonna potentially, maybe you're saying could be incorporated in the MCU. I think it will at some point with the Sony financial situations that's going on. Might as well cash the checks even more and get him in that property, make more revenue off the character, but that's another side thing. But putting all this stuff aside, let's just step back and say as if we were starting from scratch. Would you have rather have had a Venom character being introduced where he's in a Spider-Man movie fully, like I'm forgetting even Spider-Man 3 and all that, but like having him as a villain against Spider-Man, like you get to know the character and you have him as a villain, or do you prefer that route that they're going now where they're giving him a solo movie, not just a solo movie, they're making him a hero character, even though I think it's going to be maybe a troubled hero character, but still going to be a hero nonetheless. Is that something that you prefer one way or the other? What's your thoughts? What would you rather have seen is my question.
I mean, in a perfect world, I would have loved to see Maximum Carnage. So I would have loved to see, I would have loved to see Spider-Man's already established, established Venom, and established Venom. You don't necessarily have to have Spider-Man going against him, but you can establish him as an anti-hero to Spider-Man. It's like, oh, I hate Peter Parker, and next time I see you, I'm gonna eat your brains, something like that, And then have the next movie is like, oh wait, hold on, I'm gonna have to eat your brains another day because this guy is worse than me. So let's take care of this thing, and then throw in Cap and all the other Iron Fist and these other characters that are in Maximum Carnage.
Oh, getting excited.
Yeah, you're fanboying. So that's in a perfect world. That's what I would have loved to see. So just establishing him as an anti-hero, I think it's great. I think it's fine. I think it's going to work out good. That, like I said, they can't make this so far removed from the MCU. They'd have to somehow tie it in, and that's going to be the hard part. But I'm hoping that they pull it off.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yep. And then just real quick, Joel, I don't know if you saw. Speaking of toy spoiling movies, I don't know if you saw the picture of the Thor's new hammer that leaked.
I did.
I think it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was done this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like the classic, axe hammer type of design, but it looks a lot more Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're gonna leave it there.
Yep, there's definitely connective tissue there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, connective tissue for sure. But yeah, I'm hoping this movie does okay. So we'll see whenever the next trailer drops. Joe, Zack Snyder, tell us what's happening. There were some reports that came out. There was a reporter that got upset at something and then started spilling the beans out there. And then that was followed by several internet publications, let's call it that, talking about what supposedly really happened with Zack Snyder behind the scenes when Justice League was filming. So, Joel, if you want to tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go into this. This is not shocking news to me at all. So what happened this last week is that there was a reporter. I'm not going to say his name or anything, as I don't want to put him down. He's someone who's looking for work. Let's put it that way. So because of situation where he leaves a very well-known publication, he made it clear that because he just doesn't care anymore, because he doesn't have this job anymore, and to be quite frank with what he just did with putting this out there, I'm not sure how much of a credible job he'll have again because of what he just did. And that's from multiple other people I've heard who've thought the same thing. He says that because he doesn't care anymore, he decided to drop the beans on something that he had as a scoop, and he never could put it out because the powers that be wouldn't allow him to put it out due to the sensitivity of the situation going on at the time. So he had the scoop that Zack Snyder was technically fired 2 to 3 months before we actually heard the announcement of him no longer being a part of the actual the film because of his daughter, him and his wife Deborah, their daughter committing suicide. So he had the scoop that this dude was fired, but he couldn't say anything because publication wouldn't allow him to say it. Because look, this dude's daughter just committed suicide, and the news around it, we reported it, talked about it here on the show about saying that like, hey, he had to step aside from this movie to be with his family, him and his wife. Because remember, his wife is very actively involved, and we'll get into that. But she's a producer on these movies, and he's a director, so they had to step aside because their daughter committing suicide and just grieve his family. With this coming out, he's saying like I couldn't say anything because of the sensitivity of that time. They wouldn't allow me, so now I'm just coming out and spilling it. This dude was straight up fired. Interesting to hear that. I took it with a grain of salt, but I 100% believe it to be true. Multiple outlets started to come out right afterwards saying that, like, look, we had all heard this. This is true. This dude was definitely cut. They saw some of the movie, and they were completely the WB heads were like, this is not going to fly. We're not going to let this movie come out this way, and we're going to replace him. So, and I'm sure you've heard more of it, but it's fascinating to me just because to be in the middle of filming the movie and then just to say like, we're not even going to let you finish this thing and let you be fired. It was pretty bad. I mean, this is somebody who's dedicated like 10 years to this DC cinematic universe about trying to put this thing together for a while. He's been working on different aspects, him and his wife, and really, really worked at it for a long time. And then to hear that it's like, well, sorry, we're not going to let you finish this movie, and you're no longer going to be a part of this universe, and probably never going to have the job with WB. That's really a tough thing to be. I actually feel bad for the Snyders because I didn't think there was any point putting the story out there. I think the only thing that it does do is that it does make the fanboys and fangirls sit down, and rather than them petitioning for a Snyder cut, they realize, well, that's not going to come now because this dude's been fired. So they're not. Why would WB put Snyder's name on there if they can't even employ the guy? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, that really kills that. Like that speculation that was out there. Yeah,
it's completely dead. But aside from that, like, I don't know why this guy would put this out there because it's kind of insensitive, in my opinion, to the family. Like, because now this guy's Snyder and his wife now are going to basically have to be looking for work now to do other films. My hope is that he maybe does something small or something and gets back into it, and that he and his family are able to really come back together stronger than ever. But I understand the reasoning why WB maybe let him go, but it is a peculiar story to have come out the time I did, because like this reporter already lost a job. Why do you need to feel the need to this scoop? And that's the thing about the scoop world, is like these reporters get very much into like, this is my scoop, this is my story, and I want to put this out there, and it came from me, and I get that, but yeah, this was my hope is that he actually somehow contacted maybe the Snyders and was like, look, I have this thing, I don't work here anymore, are you okay with putting this out there? It's possible he's done that through back channels or something, but I mean, remember, okay, so I was just talking about like Deborah Snyder, like, okay, we talk about Zack Snyder, who's the director for these movies, but Deborah Snyder is very involved in these movies as well as a producer. She is the person, and I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes stuff from Man of Steel because I really like that movie. She's the person who casted Henry Cavill. She's the one who said like he needs to be Superman, and I think it's a great choice for Superman. She's the same person who, her and Zack Snyder, they said, like, Gal Gadot, she's going to be Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's the hottest thing right now in DC. Like, her movies are just, her movies is fantastic. And now with the reports of this, shoot, they'll probably make 6 more of those movies. And I'm not complaining. But I'm just saying, like, these people helped really put this universe together, and they're having absolutely nothing to do with it, not even a back producing role. You look at the Suicide Squads and all that, their hands were involved in it. They're gone. It's over. Obed, what's some of the stuff you've heard about this? It's a really peculiar situation.
Yep. So I remember hearing that there was a delay, right, for Justice League. I believe Justice League was gonna come out in the summer, and it got delayed to November, if I'm not wrong, right? That
Yeah.
was the original thought around it. So I have heard originally that, and again, it may have come from the same person that did this, leak, or however you want to call it. But there were sources out there saying that Snyder screened what he had made to executives, and I guess some press people, and it was just not good at all. Like, it was like what was screened was just not good, and there's no other way to say this. And it was unfortunate.
The wording I heard was that it was unwatchable, was the terminology that some of the sources were saying.
Yeah,
Whatever that means in different contexts, but the wording was just unwatchable.
yeah. Whatever was shown was just not good, and I'm assuming that after that decision was made to let him go. They had already had Joss Whedon attached to that Batgirl project, so they had him, you know, pick up the pieces basically, and finish the movie. Um, I think this reporting is accurate, and again, just not only because it's been confirmed by other sources, but the way that the movie was basically chopped into pieces and remade. You can tell, like, even watching from the trailers, like, there's scenes, and I still haven't watched the
Yeah,
movie.
wait until you see this, Obed.
Yep, and the way the trailers were done, like the first trailer, the first real trailer that we got, that was like this sort of music video trailer. That's actually very good. I believe that was a Snyder cut trailer, and the okay. I mean, whatever. There was no lighting. It's all dark and no color. Like, it's Snyder, right? But once the final trailer came out and we saw that some of the lighting changed, they added lighting, they changed filters basically. So the movie did it got, I don't want to say redone, but definitely retouched.
It's obvious in some scenes. Like there's literally a scene where like one you could tell one scene was shot differently than the other, where like the whole team's together. It's a very intense scene, and like Wonder Woman's wearing one outfit and Batman's like in the suit. And then the next scene, like it's as if they're in another room, and suddenly Wonder Woman has like a satchel on, and it's like, where did this come from?
Oh
Like,
no.
and it's like it's supposed to be the same, like within like seconds of them walking by, and it's like, tell me
Yeah.
what noticed
Well,
this.
I'll know in a few weeks when I watch it. But you know, again, what happened to Snyder, personally, again, I wouldn't wish on that on anyone. We have never attacked Snyder as a person, and we're just being, we've just been critiquing his director skills. That's what we've done. That being said, if like you said, if that cut was truly unwatchable, like the reports were, and that was the reason why he was let go, then I understand why the decision was made. Having all, him and his wife being completely cut from these projects and future projects, that's a little much. But at the same time, I think their involvement had their time. You know, they were involved for a period of time, and they were not producing the results that both the studio, of course, unfortunately, and fans wanted. So they would have to let him go, and that's completely understandable from a business standpoint. From a personal standpoint, I would have loved to see what he had in mind, and I guess we'll get a ton of deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. I've heard, so we'll
They've
we'll
already
see.
released a plenty of them with the digital version that came out already. And
Okay.
I don't want to say anything because I know you haven't seen the movie yet, but there's some stuff about certain people that were in the film from storyboards and certain things people were wearing that were hoping for and never got that were in this that was maybe Snyder shot. Excuse me, Snyder actually commented on social media saying that he did actually shoot some of these things. So he's getting a little bit out there saying like, yeah, this is actually was mine.
Gotcha.
But it's interesting. We'll never know fully what that looked like. What WB called unwatchable, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But you know,
I think this movie is going to be the third movie that that I actually go back and watch the director's commentary on, if it has any. Uh, if you're curious, the other two movies that I've watched director commentary on, it's X-Men 3 and and the Phantom Menace.
right behind you.
Because I needed to know what they were thinking.
What's
Um,
going on?
yeah, so I think I'm really really curious to see if that movie's gonna ship with the director's commentary because I can't wait to hear what Joss Whedon has to say about the stuff and how it went down and how they actually were able to put this together. So I'm looking forward to it. March 13th, I'm totally gonna get it on Blu-ray when it comes out. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Joel, Incredibles 2 had I guess again another teaser, but this one was actually pretty good. I was able to watch it today, and I think it's pretty funny. It's Incredibles. It's more Incredibles, and I think Incredibles was a phenomenal movie. So, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, Disney's back at it. Pixar, they're back doing their magic that they do. They make these solid animated CG movies, and I love the way they kept the authenticity just from what we've seen in the trailer of who the Incredibles are. I think a lot of people's fear is that they were going to try and modernize maybe or something and make you feel like, oh, this is not the Incredibles, and years later and this character's older or whatever. No, straight from the trailer, it's literally picks up exactly where we left off in the last movie, which is what I wanted. We all were promised that story of the Underminer and what was going to happen directly after, and we're getting it. So that's what I'm very happy about. Like they're leaving it off, and look, The Incredibles may be the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever had. Obed,
Pretty much, right? It's actually that's an accurate statement. Now Fantastic Five, well, Fantastic Six, to if you count Frozone and now Jack Jack, because Jack Jack's totally gonna have like a big part in the movie. Like on the first one, so you know how it's gonna be.
absolutely.
Yeah, but it looks good. It looks funny. I'm sure the writing on this movie is going to be phenomenal too, and what they released was actually pretty good. I really like that scene um when Mr. Incredible is reading the book, and then he's falling asleep, and Jack goes like this and just slaps him a little bit, and he wakes up and starts reading again. So that was real cute, and it was pretty funny. And it looks like it's gonna focus a lot on Elastigirl too, because she has a very prominent uh, part of the trailer. Like she's the
Absolutely.
one, she's the one that's actually out there doing the superheroing, and then he's staying at home with the kids. So that's pretty neat, and it was pretty funny. So looking forward to it. So yeah, man. All right. So hold on tight, guys. We're going to go into a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors. Again, these are rumors that have not been confirmed. There's multiple sources reporting this, but we're going to go ahead and start with Disney and quality control, Joel. So during the past few episodes, I've been talking about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and the status of it. And I read today that there's a community call for Marvel, and the community is trying to keep Marvel alive, much like Smash Melee is alive. So the community is doing an effort to keep this game alive. Unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to be alive online very long. There was not a report, but someone with internal access to Capcom was saying that the game was going to be pulled from digital stores in October. So, meaning you will no longer be able to purchase the game through PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, or Steam. I'm not sure if the online services will be shut down at the same time. If Disney, if Disney, based on their trends in the past and what they did to Disney Infinity, I don't doubt that at the moment they pulled this game from the online stores, that the online services get shut down. If that's the case, Marvel's dead, and there's no going back, and there's no season 2, and there's nothing, there's no reboot. There's a very strong, yeah, very strong rumors that Disney's going after quality control, and they're listening to fan reception and critical reception when it comes to games. And Disney has a clause on their licensing deals that if they do not feel comfortable with reception and the quality of the product, they are able to pull the license. Um, Unfortunate. Again, I've been saying that Marvel's it's a good game. It's unfortunate what happened to it. It's unfortunate the graphics, and just another thing that I heard, Joel, is that Disney wants to have Marvel. Disney wants Marvel to have a certain aesthetic, so that's why these characters look a lot like something that you would see on Clash of Champions on a mobile game, and that's why the graphics on this game look the way they look, and it was because Disney wanted it to look a certain way. I mean, I'm not devastated, but I'm a little bit saddened by the turn of events. If this proves to be real, which me personally, I think it is. I think that's the case. It's unfortunate that they weren't able to release a better product. Again, in my opinion, the product's good. It's just a matter of perception, and it's unfortunate. Joe, before we jump into the next one, what do you think about Marvel's Capcom Infinite, and does it deserve another chance?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say. Like, it's a situation where I want it to have another chance because I don't want it to go out this way. But I also realize like the reality of the business, and I'm like, if they have to cut this because of like it's just not performed the way they want, they can't afford to lose anything else or take a gamble, even though Disney's got the money to gamble. We all know it. But
Yeah,
I understand, they have to make decisions that make sense for them, and usually Disney makes the right decisions. But it's one of those times where, man, like I just don't want it to go out this way. I feel really bad, but if I know this is coming, spoken to you about this, Obed, I think I'm gonna run out there and go pick up my copy. And I would suggest those of you out there who are into this or considered it, like just go ahead and pick it up while it's cheap now, because that price is gonna skyrocket high if they stop distribution and
yep.
creation of this game. But man, I feel bad about going out this way. But that's really my thoughts. This is sad because there's not much to say except for disappointed, but I get it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm of a mind that the game, if they really released a graphics update and released a decent season 2, they would have made it back. Or if they do a relaunch like what Street Fighter did with Arcade Edition, it's basically a relaunch of the product. If they would have been able to do that, they would have been able to save Marvel, and the community would be thankful because hey, they fixed Marvel, and the fighting game community is actually I feel is very forgiving because it keeps giving games second chances, and not a lot of communities do that. If you stuck with Street Fighter and you gave it a chance, When Arcade Edition came out, that was the point. I was like, yeah, it's fixed. It's great. It's awesome. So, and it's like that, they keep patching games and releasing content, but they really needed to come out and say, listen, guys, this is not dead. Removing it from the Capcom Cup, it's not on Evo. There's rumors out there saying that Disney doesn't want their product to be showcased in tournaments. So there's very different things and rumors and speculation going around, but it's unfortunate. But Joel, the big one, because this is big. So there's rumor that Disney higher ups or Disney consumer product higher ups had meetings with EA, and they expressed their concern with the reception and the controversy that Battlefront 2 had, and the reasoning behind the cancellation of the Visceral project, which was a single player adventure game that Visceral Games was working on, that was going to be written by Amy Hennig. Of course, she wrote the first 3 Uncharted games. So this is big, man, because this is a licensing deal that's huge. You're talking about the #1 license in the world, and just for them to go back and it's like, all right, I'm taking my toys back and going home, and I'm going to play with my new neighbor, which is pretty much what speculation is at this point, is that Disney is already in talks with Activision and Ubisoft, which is also concerning to a certain extent. But we'll talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, Joel, what are your thoughts about this?
Talk about Disney stepping in, man, and just doing what they got to do. They are the big boss in all of this. They understand the power of their IP, and they understand, just as you said yourself, that Star Wars is the biggest franchise ever. So if you have the rights to distribute Star Wars games, you should be treating that with a great privilege and honor, because of the potential that you have of X amount of money that you could be looking at to make with this property, just for the name itself, even if the game itself is bad. Battlefront 2 is not a terrible game, but certainly didn't live up to what we expected of it, and it still made decent amount of money, not as much as expected, but still decent. It just shows the power of the franchise. So Disney is so smart to step in and say, look, we see what you did with this last game. Now we're concerned because we see about this new game that was already been in development for a while. There's some odd reasoning here. There's some things that we don't understand. Why would you take this away from Visceral? We thought we believed in this. We thought we agreed on this property coming out. It's like someone saying that they're going to do something and then retracting, saying, well, maybe it wasn't that great of an idea. That's not a good business practice, having that, shaky hand. So I think Disney's saying, look, if you're not going to treat this the way we expect, and they have the right to have that expectation, then they are going to look at these other companies. So Activision, Ubisoft, whoever it's got to be, like, I know like it could be concerning, and you have to be concerned about where it goes. But I believe that because of the situation and the gravity of the attention that happened about what happened with EA and the Star Wars games, like, I think that Disney's saying, we're not going to let this happen again. And I think Disney's smart enough to learn from this. And wherever it goes or however it goes, I think they're going to make sure from the get-go that certain things are established on their expectations and that they're not going to be failed with the next property. So it's a concerning thing, just because, I actually was okay with it being at EA, and I was hoping that, we would get some certain things to come out of it. But look, if it's going to be best for us at the end, the gamers, then let's see what happens. It's a wait and see. Just all speculation, but juicy nonetheless.
Yeah, and then there was speculation that the project that the guys, the Titanfall team, totally forgot their name now, were working on, that game was being pushed to Q1 2020 maybe that was going to be a next gen game. You know, it's just 2 years away, but at the same time, I think that Disney was under the expectation that EA was going to play these things in tandem. I still think Battlefront 2 is a great game. It's a lot of fun. That single player campaign that I had was actually pretty enjoyable. I enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed it too because we
Yeah.
talked about it. And it was decent. And even then, the multiplayer is great. It's fun, but you need to put things in perspective, right? Disney is very zealous of their IPs. They're not gonna let anyone, any company at all, tarnish their IPs. I'm surprised that to this day there hasn't been any issues with Kingdom Hearts and how Square Enix is actually able to pull it off. I mean, my reasoning behind this is that 90% of the Kingdom Heart products are actually very good. You know, the mainline games, the mobile, the not the mobile, but Portal games, the PSP, the DS, 3DS games have been good, and I think they Square Enix understands the properties and they respect the properties, and that's what was missing from EA. They were thinking of Star Wars as a cash cow, and they were trying to take advantage of it. They failed. We did not let them. Both people that did not buy the game and when everyone was up in arms about the microtransactions in the game. At this point, I don't know if they're going to turn on those microtransactions. They haven't said anything else. They did say that they were going to revamp progression and they were going to turn them on, but I haven't heard anything else lately. That other project that the Titanfall team is working on has me very concerned now that it could potentially be canceled. From between Activision and Ubisoft, in my opinion, no brainer is give it to Ubisoft. They know how to make single player games. They know how to treat games as service in a proper way, and they have been able to maintain 3 games as a service for the last 3 years, possibly, with The Division, Rainbow Six Siege, and For Honor. They've been able to maintain those games and still release content. So to this day, I still hear people talk about Rainbow Six Siege and For Honor and to some extent The Division. So, Joel, just to get you to fanboy a little bit, can you imagine an Assassin's Creed style Star Wars game?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat, right?
Taking my money. Just happening right there, man. Obed, what are you doing to me in this episode, man?
Yeah,
Getting me dreaming.
I think that would be a great idea. On the other hand, I think Activision really knows how to make competent shooters. So if they keep doing Star Wars shooters, Activision is a great choice. They already had that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare that was very good, and it had like space battles and everything. Um, they could definitely pull it off in a very competent way. They're more multiplayer focused, but I think Activision still and the teams that are behind the Call of Duty games, Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer and all these guys are very competent developers, and they are able to come up with a very good Star Wars game. And I think they would actually even treat it with respect, because now that they see how rabid the Star Wars fan base is, and not even that, just the negative reception that microtransactions as a whole have had in the past year, I think they're gonna definitely stay away from that. But in my opinion, if someone gets it from those two, Ubisoft. I would personally, if Star Wars wants to grow as a storytelling type of gameplay thing, I would work with Sony because they have teams that are very competent at doing single player experiences that are robust and packed and just good. So but we'll see where this goes. Again, this is grain of salt type of thing. We'll see what happens. And the next one, Joe, I want to bring in my sign says, Microsoft, what are you doing? and Joe, let's talk about E3, right? We're still a few months away, but this week there was a leak of the preliminary floor plans for E3 in the East Hall of the LA Convention Center. Sony and Nintendo basically on the floor. So it was the big publishers. It was Sony and Nintendo, and you had a couple of smaller publishers. Exceed was there and whatnot. But between Sony and Nintendo, they were each taking about 33% of the floor each, right? When I went and checked the map, when I was like, well, where's Microsoft? I don't see Microsoft on this floor plan. That's odd. So I go over to the South Hall map and I see Microsoft's booth space, and it's the size of Exceeds, which is a niche Japanese localization publisher. So, Joe, what's going on? Why doesn't Xbox with basically new hardware out there have such a small footprint on the biggest show of the year?
They have no money. They're so underperforming that I don't even think Microsoft wants to give them any more budget and say, like, you already had your huge show last year to release this new hardware and announce all this stuff. And it's like, and then not on top of that, like, what are they going to show? Microsoft must know in advance that they don't have enough to even justify financially what they might need. I'm even questioning, like, a press conference. Like, are they going to have an actual conference? If they do, sure, and that I would expect it still. But even that, don't expect much. Like, have your hopes very low because there's obviously not a lot going on, and they obviously don't have the money to do it, and it's sad.
Yeah. What I think is that it is not necessarily that Microsoft doesn't have the money, but we're talking about the games division of Microsoft.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's what I think. I think they're canceling Crackdown 3. I think that game's gonna get canceled, and what they have is just very few other games that they have announced from indie games, and maybe they'll show a Halo trailer, but definitely nothing playable. My speculation is that Microsoft is going to. Okay, so here's what I think. Xbox is getting budget cuts, and they don't have a blank check anymore like they used to have. Microsoft is converting most of their model into a service company, and I'm in IT and I see it every day with how Microsoft just treats the products now, and I've been doing this for a while. So I think that they don't have the budget to have a big footprint. I still think they'll have a show. I don't think the Xbox One X is actually doing great, Joel. I mentioned this to you that there was a deal that I saw on the Xbox One X, and X Scorpio or whatever you want to call it. It was the Xbox with an extra controller for, I think it was like 460. That we saw the deal, and I showed it to you, and I was like, "Oh man, that's crazy! They're like already cutting prices." I saw one today that it was buy the Xbox One X and get 3 games free, and there
3?
3. And there was and do you know what this reminds me of? The Sega Saturn, when they started giving out games for free for people to buy the Saturn. I remember that, man. So they announced today that they're having like next week, if you buy an Xbox One X, you get PUBG for free. So if you get that with whatever offers are going on right now, you can potentially buy the Xbox One X with 4 games.
Obed, you think you're gonna go pick one up?
Nope. I have no reason for it. It's like there's nothing see, I don't, I'm not into racing games. Um I know that they're gonna come out with a Forza this year, and that's fine. And I know that those games are good, but that's not my cup of tea. So they're not gonna they're not gonna sell me on Forza. I think Halo and Gears of War are good games, and they have their fan base. Never clicked with me, but I know that they're great franchises, and that's great. But there's nothing that they can't offer me that I cannot get somewhere else. Now that they're all of their games are on PC, you know, then they announced that the Xbox the game service that they have is going to have day one games. I think what's going to happen, Joel, they are going to come out with a, a here's my prediction. They're going to come out with a simplified version of the Xbox One X with no Blu-ray drive, cost cutting, no Connect port, and release that only works with the subscription service, and they're going to 100% go service like Netflix,
Complete
and
digital.
yeah, completely, yeah, 100% digital, and they're not gonna be selling discs anymore. That's my prediction, and that's probably gonna be for their next gen product, whatever that is. So that's still probably I'd say a year, 2 years away.
Where does that put them in the case with like a GameStop or like a Best Buy or
Well, I mean, at this point, GameStop can only sell their game cards, and my opinion is that they can do what PC is doing now, where you can just buy a box with the download code in it. So they can do that. Like people that want like collector's editions and all these things can buy a case with a download code.
trade your codes. You can't do that.
Yeah, sure. They didn't GameStop was working on something like that, and they never did it. I've also heard rumors, or I've also heard not necessarily rumors, but Xbox users saying that in the last since the fiscal year ended, or the quarter ended, since the quarter ended, Xbox Live has been much slower. Things are taking more time to download. There's a significant, or not necessarily a significant, but a noticeable change in performance with Xbox Live. This is budget cuts. They're cutting it back on infrastructure. Of course, Microsoft has a very robust cloud infrastructure, but these things cost money. This is just because there's Microsoft doesn't mean that these things are free. They need to pay their company back for their services. So that being said, Joel, I think that the Xbox is not going to go away, but it's going to be a service. It's going to be a Netflix style game service that you pay monthly and you buy a box. But That's where I see this going. Uh, like I said, I think Crackdown's going to get canceled. And after that, Sea of Thieves is supposed to be good. They have an Ori sequel that's coming out that looks those games look fantastic. I know that they've reached out to a few indie developers to get more stuff on the machine. We'll see how that goes. Joel, I'm curious to see sales for both Dragon Ball and Monster Hunter to see how those games are performing on Xbox versus other platforms, especially Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball was has a marketing deal with Microsoft, and this the announcement was made at E3 last year at Microsoft's conference. So I'm interested to see what the sales figures for Dragon Ball are, and per console. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find them. I'm actually looking to see if I can get those numbers, and I haven't been able to find them. So maybe when MPD drops for next month, we'll be able to see those numbers. Or this month hasn't dropped yet. I believe they drop tomorrow, if I'm not wrong, on the 6th. Yeah, tomorrow's the 16th. So maybe tomorrow we'll get MPD numbers for January. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But Joe, that with how well the Switch is doing and how strong the PlayStation continues to perform, and the PlayStation having several major titles for this year. Uh, what do you think? Do you agree with with what that possible future, or what do you think is going to happen?
It's funny you brought up the completely like digital subscription Netflix style based route, because like it makes me remember of when the rumors for the PS4 and the Xbox One, when they were in production, like some of the rumors or predictions at that time was that those were going to be completely digital, and that you were not going to be able to um, get a physical disc, or there, like, even though like it would read discs, like watch Blu-rays or whatever, like your games would be digital or something, right? There was like the rumors at the time. And I remember people not being happy about it, mixed reactions. Hearing this, I think just because of the corner that Xbox has been backed into, this division of Microsoft, like the way they've been put now in a place where they're gonna have to innovate to survive. Like if they're the first to do that, and it maybe I don't know, hypothetically, maybe it lowers their costs even from the sense of the distribution of these games. I don't know. There's might be some benefit to it from a financial standpoint. Then like you gotta do what you gotta do, and you know what? This last console, they can tout it as their high performing, juggernaut of a console that can kick out this amount of resolution and this amount of power in the machine. But if you go streaming based, there's only so much you can tout from power, even though it's they can do a lot of things there. There's only so far they can go from that standpoint with the hardware. It's gonna be interesting to see. So it could be a good strategy. I get it, but I mean, like, man, I do hope that they actually do survive, like that they continue to go beyond this console, and that Xbox still exists out there in a meaningful way. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to hate on them by any means. It's just this is the kind of news, but I'm fascinated to see. I like your prediction, but that's my reaction to it. Really, is just what does that mean from multiple business aspects?
Yeah, yeah. I think they'll act casual this E3, and they're gonna have a conference, and they're just gonna go announce a couple multiplayer games, and announce one more Halo coming in for their current gen, and the next year we'll know for sure what's gonna happen. It's still nebulous, but I think that's where their business models it seems to be going to. Let's see what happens. I mean, if they innovate in that way, Sony may follow suit. But you know, and if they go that route, they're gonna keep their fans. Fans are gonna go with them. But at that point is just going to be a hard sell for the casual audience versus a more traditional console. But we'll see. Like I said, I hope they do good. And I know for sure, man. I haven't seen an Xbox One X commercial in a few weeks, and I know that they were promoting that thing very, very hard. But me personally, haven't seen a commercial in a few weeks
Me either.
already. Yeah, so I mean, it's been probably a month since I haven't seen one. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how they do. Again, this is all speculation. This is all, or this is rumors, speculations mixed with our opinions. So you guys take it however, and of course, you can definitely share your thoughts on that to you guys that are listening. Just before we head out, Joel, today is the 6th anniversary of the PS Vita.
Long
So
live Vita Island.
yeah, the little console that couldn't, the handheld that couldn't. It's a great machine. It still holds up very well. 6 years old, games still
Still
look
working.
good. It's still, yeah, you can still do the remote play, and I still use it. I haven't used it in a few weeks, but it's there. It works, and it's always next to it's always on my side table, man, in my living room. If I grab it, I do a quick game and move on. But yeah, a little console that in my opinion deserved better, at least here in the West. I know that it's still doing really, really well in Japan, but at least in our market. But Joe, that's all I got, man. If you have anything else, we can just go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, definitely. Before we wrap it up, I did want to make sure that we took time, Obed, just to acknowledge the fact of the unfortunate events that have happened here in our state. Our show is based out of Florida, and I'm sure if you all have seen on the news, unfortunately, there was a recent unfortunate event that happened. Multiple people lost their lives for a very terrible, senseless act of violence. And in times like this, it's important for us to unify and for us to stand together as people, and to really just pray and hope for peace and hope for justice, and to really just, we just want to let the people out there know who are affected that we are thinking of you, we are praying for you, we are hoping for you, and we're believing for peace. And that's something that's needed in times like this. So just wanted to acknowledge that here on the show before we continue. And then, I just now jumping into the next part here is our social media. I want to make sure you guys stay connected with us at No Load Time. That's at No Load Time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Give us a follow, stay connected that way. You also can go ahead and subscribe to the show if you are on our audio edition on iTunes and Google Play. If you're listening through iTunes, go ahead and not only subscribe, but also give us some reviews. Tell your friends about it, share with them. Additionally, if you're watching us for the video format, that's right. If you're listening to this, yes, there is a video format. If you're watching the video, hi, nice to see you. We're here on YouTube at we're No Load Time on YouTube. So you go ahead and subscribe to this channel, No Load Time. That helps us out. Give us a thumbs up, like on the video, drop us a comment. We really appreciate your feedback. And if you want to talk to us even more, you can send us an email to noloadtime@gmail.com. It's noloadtime@gmail.com. We appreciate your feedback, comments, questions, whatever. We appreciate you all out there. And we look forward to our next episode where I will have seen Black Panther and 40X. So I'm going to have a full experience, and we'll talk about Wakanda then. But Obed, that's it for now.
All right. Thank you guys again, and we will see you on the next show.